Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome to my show. Well, as everyone knows, the economy is struggling, and that means a lot of nonprofits and charities that are doing great work are also struggling. The good news is, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we live in one of the most philanthropic communities in the entire nation. To talk about that, long friend Bob Hopkins, he's a best-selling author and speaker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on the show because you just wrote this best-selling coffee table book, Philanthropy Misunderstood. I am fascinated by the title. What does the title mean?
Right. Everybody's fascinated with the title. You know, I struggled with philanthropy misunderstood or philanthropy understood. And so I had a lot of people say, no, it should be understood. And so I said, okay, my second book's going to be understood. My first one is Philanthropy Misunderstood. And the reason is this, Jeff, I'm not a philanthropist because I don't give $1 million. And people who give of their time, thousands of hours, they give of their resources, they give their clothes, they give the shirt off their back, are never called a philanthropist because they don't give money, big money. And so I realized when I was doing my magazine, Philanthropy in Texas, my staff would say, okay, how much money did they give? And after a while I thought, you know what, it didn't make any difference because these people are good people who give so much back to the community. Why am I judging them on how much money they gave? And so most people say I'm not a philanthropist because when I win the lottery, I will be.
You arrived in North Texas in 1984. And so when you hit the ground, how did you meet all of these fabulous people?
Right. You know, I wasn't hired for a long time because people said, you don't know anybody. And it's true, I didn't know anybody. But I came here as an educated fundraising executive that I had already worked for in Kansas City. And when I came here, I wanted a fundraising job. So I applied to different organizations and they all said, but Bob, you don't know anybody. And I said, okay, but I can learn fast. Anyway, the Shelton School hired me. And it was so easy after that because in 1984, the streets were laden with gold. And there were so many people out there giving, and doing. And so all I had to do was take off the lid off this gigantic pot and people just jumped out and said, I want to give. So I went off the Shelton School on the $40,000 goal and we raised $170,000. That just tells you within a very short period of time, very shortly after I got here, people were ready to give. They just hadn't been asked.
And people had been telling you for years, you got to write this book, you got to write this book. What caused you to finally do it?
Well, because I do have a lot of stories of people, and I would tell stories, and I would tell stories, and I would tell stories, because, you know, life is a story. And I don't do anything without telling a story. I teach speech now, and I tell my students, you have to tell a story. And I kept telling stories, and people said, you know, you got to write that down. You got to write that down. That's a great story. That's a great story. And so I said, okay. And so I decided to start writing, and got permission from my editor of the magazine that I created, Beth Wilbins, and she said, you've got a story in you, Bob, and you need to write them down. And I realized I didn't have enough just for me, but I did have 108 people that I knew that I had worked with that had a story with me. And so that's what started it, and that's why.
Well, you got to make me a promise. When they turn the book into a movie, Richard Gere plays you. Can you promise me that?
That sounds like a good deal.
There you go. We've got some video of you out signing books at one of your many book signings. What is that like when you're pressing the flesh and people are seeing their own face in the book? What's that like?
Yeah, it's amazing, you know. And I've got a magic pen here,
You
and
got
I
a
don't
magic
even
pen?
know where it is.
Maybe we left it in the other room.
Well, anyway, I have a magic pen, and that's what I'm writing this with, and I love it. I just love it. People say, "Will you sign my book?" And I love signing the books.
That's awesome. It took you 2 years to write.
Yeah, and 5 years to think about it, you know. And so, actually, it was October to October that I actually started writing and finished the book. It came out October the 19th of last year, so not too many months ago.
Well, you're also an incredible speaker. We've got some video of you speaking, and I know that you teach class as well. That's got to be rewarding to give back in that way.
Right. Yeah, I do teach speech, and the focus is nonprofit organizations. So they talk about nonprofits. So I get to introduce this word philanthropy to my students who've really never heard of it before. Truly, they haven't. They don't know what that is. They said, "Is it bugs? What is So anyway, it's love of mankind, and so I get to teach that in my classes, and it is really warm to me when students leave my class and say, I learned philanthropy. Not just speaking, I learned philanthropy. I love it.
Well, I know the process of writing a book is a tough one. It took me more than a year to write my book. As you're writing about real people, and you know that these real people are going to read your book, are you kind of sweating over the lines and saying, should I put this line in there? Would this embarrass this person? I mean, it's got to be a challenge.
Right. I had 2 editors that gave me a lot of advice and information, and they didn't change the thoughts that I had, but sometimes they would change some of the words. And the people actually who were in the book wrote their own story too. And so their ideas were not changed, but maybe some grammar was, et cetera, et cetera. I've been through the book a couple of times. I don't find any mistakes, but it's because I had 2 good editors.
That's wonderful. Okay, what's some of the highest praise you've been paid since you wrote the book?
Oh gosh, I've been on several talk shows, and in the signings of the books has been amazing. One of the places that I had a signing was in the University of Missouri in Kansas City. Wow. Because I have people in Kansas City who wrote the book. And because an author coming in from Dallas with a great big book, and it's all very colorful, the students were in awe of me. Number 2 is I just got back from Bangladesh. I was the only white person in Bangladesh. Not only was I an author, I was white. They all wanted my picture being taken. They thought a movie star had come into Bangladesh. So perception is...
They said it was Richard Gere. They all thought it was Richard Gere.
Perception is a lot here. When I went to India, they thought Bob Hope was coming. Okay. They'd forgotten that he died 30 years ago. But anyway, I don't know that I've received anything out of the ordinary as far as the book is concerned, except they think it's a masterpiece. And it is, because it's so pretty. My designer was Tom Dolphins from Kansas City. He and I have known each other for 40 years. And I just gave it to him and gave him the information, and he created the look.
Yes. Let's put the book cover up on the screen if we can, because look at that. It's just a beautiful coffee table book. I encourage everyone watching this show to check it out. Bob, what do you want people to get out of the book? If you had to kind of sum it up, what's the big takeaway or 2?
I can do this too. I can do this too. I can do this too. And that's what I want. I want people to realize they can be a philanthropist. And they're very shy about saying, I'm a philanthropist finally. But there's a lot of people in here who don't believe they deserve to be in here. They still don't believe they're a philanthropist, even though they have been such a good person all their lives. Jeanette Korb is in there. She came from South Dakota, and she said, we just lived philanthropy. We didn't know we were living philanthropy. We just thought we were living the way you're supposed to live, by treating other people so good.
I think your timing is perfect, because not only are you hitting baby boomers who are searching for meaning in their life, they made their money and now they're giving back, but you've also hit millennials and Gen Zs that really, they want to work for a company that stands for something, that's giving back. It really crosses all generations, doesn't it?
Right. It does. And you know what I feel like with my students? I'm empowering them to continue doing what they're doing when they're doing good. I'm kind of saying, you're doing the right thing. Keep doing it. Pay attention around you. Find a problem and find a solution for it. And they go, can I do that? Can I really do something that's amazing? And it's amazing that people can do just little tiny things and they can change the world, just their own world, if nothing else.
Bob, you're a great guest. Okay, when is book 2 coming out?
Well, I don't know, but they haven't asked me when yet. They've said, are you going to do another one? I say yes. It won't be for a year. I'm still selling this book, obviously. What was amazing is that I had half of my book sold before it even came off the press.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
it's just because the people in it wanted multiple copies of their books because they knew it was going to be going
Yes.
around.
Yes.
So on the night that I launched the book, I already had 500 books sold. You know, and so people just came to get their books. And then we had a big party at the Museum of Biblical Art. And
Yes.
I had the Bruce Wood dancers come, and I had a band from Eastville College come, and so we just made it a party. People would say, I've never been to a book signing where we had so much fun.
Well, I can't thank you enough for my signed copy, Bob. This is wonderful. Let's put the website up so people can order the book. PhilanthropyMisunderstood.org is the website. And Bob Hopkins, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate it. I'd shake your hands, but we can't.
No, we can't. Air bump. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.